So, Damien, one of the things that I think a lot of leaders, and we've talked a little bit about this, a lot of leaders, need to be thinking about their own personal growth.
Absolutely, yeah.
And but one of the things that I think is important in being an authentic leader is that that personal growth is aligned with the growth of the company.
This it really comes back to that decision that you make as a leader
Yeah.
and being purposeful about where you're going and
Yep.
what you're choosing to do. Because when we're talking about being an authentic leader, it's really we've talked a lot about effort. We talked about that in the action video,
Yep.
which is, I mean, if you haven't watched that, it's
Go ahead and
important to
watch that.
it, yeah, because energy is really important as a leader. You
Mhm.
really have to have that energy there. And if you're forcing it to happen, it's going to exhaust you. It's going to exhaust you very, very quickly. Whereas when your personal growth matches with the organizational growth, the alignment is there and you get
Right.
those dopamine hits and it really helps you move forward, which is, I know from your experience, it's where a lot of leaders just don't understand that, the importance.
They, and and the thing that you just said is so important. The energy that you embody,
Mm.
whether it's draining on you or is it lifting you up, and the personal growth, it's in that development with the growth of the company, having those aligned. That means we're always moving,
Yeah.
and our energy
Yes.
is in forward motion.
Yes.
Right, as opposed to the negative energy, and and the other key thing is a true being that authentic leader, when you are thinking about your own and that personal growth, the one thing that it also does, it gives and signals to the other people in your organization and your company that personal growth is important and that you value it, and you value theirs too.
Absolutely. And that's a key distinction that we make when we're talking about authentic leadership as opposed to being authentic. Authentic is about being you.
Mhm.
And it's basically saying, I'm me and everyone else can suck it up, which is not a
Mhm.
great way of approaching it. We've mentioned that before. If you're a surgeon or you want to be a surgeon, you don't have the skills to be a surgeon,
Right,
you're not going to be very effective and you probably shouldn't have a scalpel.
right,
Whereas leadership is the same thing. Leadership is not something that you have, it's something that you do. It's a process. And if you don't have the skills to do that, then it makes it really difficult to be effective as a leader. And that's where personal growth is really, really critical, to have those personal skills that are going to flow into that leadership, because as we've talked about a lot, and as is the case with everything we do, our behaviors are unconscious.
right.
And if we haven't personally grown into being a leader, it's going to be really hard to behave in the moment, in those stressful moments.
Right, because we want that leadership and those skills just to become an unconscious reaction and decision. Again, like driving the car, like putting your seatbelt on. For me, like I cannot get into my car as the driver without automatically putting on my seatbelt.
Yeah.
Right? I just unconsciously do it. I don't
Yeah.
think about it. I just do it. And it's funny, it's like turning, the signal in the car, right? You learn to do that, and
Yeah.
then it becomes you just unconsciously, well, you should unconsciously
Yeah.
put the signal on. If you don't put the signal on, do me a favor, go back to driving school, because you know what,
Definitely.
there are
That's
those
very
people that don't put the signal on.
There are people, we call them Queenslanders
Right.
in Australia. They don't use indicators.
Right.
Sorry for all you Queenslanders.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sorry.
I mean, in Massachusetts, we call people massholes, right? I mean, I'm from Massachusetts. Please use your signals.
Yeah.
You have learned to do them, so make sure that again, go back to driving school.
And it's one of those, I think what you're talking about there is, and a great example of that was Elon Musk when they were ramping up the Model 3 production.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he was in the factory, sleeping in the factory, working 20, 22 hours a day.
Yeah.
Now, in those moments, obviously that's very extreme, but in those moments, if you don't have the ability to act unconsciously, and you'll have to consciously verify everything, and you're going to be very slow, which is not going to be very effective. Right. And this is where that personal growth is really, really critical, and that alignment of your personal growth with the the organizational growth or where you want to be as a leader is really critical. And that's that distinction we talk about a lot in the videos, is the distinction between your values, which stay constant and should be aligned with the organization you're leading.
And behaviors.
And your behaviors. Yeah.
Right. And you know, no matter where you are, whether it's in your year, whether it's the beginning of the year, the middle, whichever quarter it is, know that you can decide right now, make a decision right now to say, okay, you know what, I want to grow this. This is something that I want to do. I know the company and the organization needs to go here. And for me, my personal growth needs to also grow. And I'm going to take that action right now. And I'm going to either, hire a coach. We're going to take action with a mentor. But take the action. And it doesn't have to be, that you decide that December 31st or January 1.
Absolutely. You do that constantly. And we talk about that a lot in the present and future self video. That we cover that in depth there at that process. But what we're talking about here is alignment with your personal growth, with your company and organization that you're leading, so that the behaviors that you do relate. And this is where it becomes really useful to take present experiences and then project them into the future and go, well, this is how I'm going to behave in the future. A lot of times people will do something and go, I should have done this differently. Now that's an insane statement. Because you can't should have done anything differently. You can't go back in time and change it.
Right.
You did it. What you can do is do it differently next time. An example I've used before is we've all tripped over and been embarrassed by it.
Right.
Whereas, and I did that, and I made a conscious choice that next time that was going to happen, I was actually going to celebrate it. And that happened. I didn't deliberately choose to trip over, but when I did, unconsciously I'd integrated it. So immediately, rather than get embarrassed and try and hide, I actually jumped up and celebrated.
Right. And
a lot of people clapped and cheered, and it created a different environment. And this is where we're talking about aligning your personal development with your organization, is saying, okay, what do I need to do now? Taking the experience that you have now, you've done something and it didn't quite work, and going, in the future, how will I address this?
Right.
And you're speaking, especially when you know how to speak to your unconscious mind, that integrates very quickly, and then the trigger happens and you react differently.
Right. It's almost getting to the point for that personal development growth to train your unconscious mind to grow where you want to grow.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's where we talk about on the compelling future video. Having that compelling future gives you that guidance. But what it also does is it really adds to your benefit. It puts you in video game mode. It puts you in gamification, where because you're going, okay, next time I trip over, I'm going to celebrate it, using that example. And then you do that and you get a dopamine hit. So you get the little Mario, we get your gold coin, and you feel good about it, and it builds this momentum during your day. And so this aligning of your personal self with your company becomes these things that actually motivate you and push you forward.
Right. And one thing that I think is also, one of the things that I know you and I both have talked about, and that we both do, is that you get up in the morning and you can reflect what your mantra is and what your mission is. And as you need to make a switch, if you need to make a switch in where you want to go in your personal growth, make a switch to that. But telling yourself, what are you telling yourself every day? So that you're telling your mind something and it's learning.
Absolutely.
And that can also really help have an impact on that unconscious behavior, because you're doing something consciously, and it moves into the unconscious.
Absolutely. And you know that it's there when you can actually not reference it for a long period of time.
Right.
I have that with my personal mission statement. Now, there was a time where I read it every day. Multiple times a day. But now that I know it's integrated unconsciously, because I don't do that every day anymore. I can go months without actually referencing it. But then if I say, oh, what's my personal mission statement, I can recite it verbatim. Because it's integrated unconsciously. And that's one way you know where it has integrated unconsciously, and those personal development changes have happened, is that you're not constantly referencing it consciously, but in the moment you do it.
Right. And that's, again, so that personal development, aligning with the growth of your company, they do need to that create that alignment, and And what you say every day to yourself, say it also to the people at your company.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And everybody else should know, be able to know what that is to create the development of the company. So it becomes, again, when somebody says anything about the company, they know unconsciously
Yeah.
where they're going, what the development is.
Absolutely. And as we talked about in the emotional intelligence video, it's one of those things that helps you when you have that emotional intelligence and your personal development is growing in that way, that you can identify the people that are supportive and working with the company and people that may need to go somewhere else. And we've talked about that in separate videos as well.
Right.
It's not about making an organization that fits everyone, because if you try and fit everyone, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
I love the example of Raising Cane's. It was something you experienced from me, but it's an organization that just sells one thing and is a very highly successful business. And most things that are highly successful, pretty much I'd say all things, because they have that particular focus.
Right. They know what they're doing, they know where they want to go, and they're focusing on doing one thing great.
Absolutely. And that's where, from your perspective, as we're talking about in this video, aligning your personal goal, personal growth with the growth of the company, it's really important that they do grow. And having that distinction, we talk about that a lot on Pathfinder. It's one of our core tenets in Pathfinder is distinguishing between what are your values, your compelling future, and your behaviors, because the behaviors need to adjust, and that evolves and grows as the circumstance change. And nature says this, or if you believe in divine creation, either way, but the organism must change to the environment or it becomes extinct.
Right. It must change, right. And we shared this on another one of our videos. One of the companies that I first joined my first company that I joined when I got out of university, it didn't change, and it does not exist.
Yeah. And we have to evolve, and that's where it's really important as your organization evolves, you as a leader, your personal growth evolves in alignment with the organization, in alignment with the organization's needs as that changes.
Right. And really, really important that, again, the values are so important. Refinement, the personal goals, your behavior, being able, and we say this a lot with Pathfinder, is being able to measure and monitor and adjust what you're doing so that you can be in that evolution process, so that you can stay within your environment and know that you're staying with and you're changing with the time.
Absolutely. And process is a key word that you mentioned there. This personal growth is a process. So, and you said measure, monitor, and adjust. Your personal growth, it's a process. So it has a start, a middle, and no end. And you identify, okay, I need to align my personal growth with the organization. I've done this action. We talked about actions in a separate video. And did it get the result that I wanted?
Right.
If it didn't,
if it didn't get the results, then what are you going to do to tweak it?
Yeah.
We talk about, I always think of ourselves and where we are as a leader. Our personal growth is something that, where we are today, you can think of that as being the control.
Yeah.
Right. And so if I look at something and I start investing in my own personal growth, and I can make some changes and tweaks, measuring and monitoring, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I like this behavior. It's doing better. It's helping move the needle. The company is advancing. Then that becomes my control.
Absolutely.
And then we do it again.
Yeah. And when you take it that step further, and you've measured, monitored, and adjusted, and then you're paying attention to how you're actually speaking. And this is really important, not just out loud, but speaking to yourself. Because for personal growth, we ultimately need to be acting. It's really important because it doesn't matter what you know, it's what you do.
Right.
And if we're not acting from our unconscious behavior, well, all action is from our unconscious behavior, but if we're not aware of how that's working, it becomes very difficult to move forward. Being a lot of times with personal growth, and this is where people who have addiction, say smoking, struggle because they say, I want to stop smoking. And that's kind of like saying, how often have we said, I don't forget this, and then you get to where you're going and you forgot it. Because you told yourself to forget it. Your unconscious mind doesn't understand don't. You said forget. Whereas if you say, I want to remember, all of a sudden it sets up that unconscious process. And when you integrate that at an unconscious level with the personal growth, things become a lot easier
Right.
within your organization.
Right. So the words you say matter so much, not just what you say to others, but what you say to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if you can take out the negative word, like don't is a negative word.
Yeah.
Don't forget how, you know, so make sure you remember, I'm going to remember to take this, or I'm going to remember to drop something off, whatever that is. Put it into that positive light, and it's amazing.
Moving towards.
Yeah, you're moving towards something versus
avoiding it. Yeah. And as a leader, this is really important from a personal growth perspective, because if you're not doing it and you're in your personal growth, so if you yourself are saying, don't forget this, when you speak to people, whether you're aware of it or not, you'll be using that language. You're saying, don't forget to do this. And it becomes a struggle because all your staff are forgetting things because you're telling them to forget.
Right.
And then you're getting frustrated because you're going, why are you people forgetting all the time? It's like, because you're telling them to forget. And I know that's a very simplistic example, but it applies across everything you do. So when you're looking at it in your personal growth, if you're not moving towards something, then you're moving towards what you don't want. So anything, as you said, don't is a negative word. It's pushing, it's moving you away from where you want to go.
Right. I was thinking about, like, thinking about this also, like, again, with people that are doing things that, you know, maybe need a little bit of tweaking, right? You know, instead of speaking something negative to them, saying, hey, right, you know, remember, you know, and I'm going to think about my son, hey, remember to play video games more often, right? Or, you know, remember.
Well, I think about it, I mean, when I was a young kid and used to hang around in pubs and bars and play pool, I would be, as I'm hitting the shot, I'd say, don't miss, is what I was saying. And then a lot of times I would miss. But what I noticed, what was happening, is as I was moving forward with the cue, I was actually closing my eyes. So unconsciously, I was telling myself, don't miss. Consciously, I was saying, don't miss. Unconsciously, my mind's heard miss. So out of my awareness, my eyes were closing,
right?
And so I'd missed the shot.
Right.
And so and this is, you know, an example of that's how our body works. And so from that personal development, when you've got those goals aligned and it's focused towards moving towards, all of a sudden, not only your steps, your whole physiology is working towards it, other people pick up on that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're telling yourself, right.
Yes.
You know, ball, right, see the shot, make the shot.
Exactly. And I did that, and just my game improved dramatically. Just by simply, it was amazing how many difficult shots I went, that's going in. And all of a sudden, it just, I didn't really think about it because unconsciously the body, the mind took over, did the things it needed to do, and got the shot. It was amazing how many times that's happened in so many different circumstances where I said, I'm going to get that. I'd do it deliberately. I'd be in the office, and you know the garbage bin would be over there. I'd scrape a bit of paper and that's going to go in, and I'd launch it across it. It'd bounce off 3 things and go in the bin.
Right. Yeah. And that's and again, that personal development. You know, what you say to yourself is how you want to grow, and what you say to yourself how you want the company to grow. When you say it positively out loud and do those things, it will happen.
Absolutely.